Is the Black Navy starter deck worth buying? Let's talk about it. What's up, captains? Welcome back to the Other Decks. My name is Casual Adobo, and today we're going to be talking about the new Black Navy starter deck for the One Piece TCG, and talking about why or why not you should purchase it. We're going to be discussing the pros, the cons, what the deck is looking to do, and ultimately how good is it. If you've seen some of my other starter deck videos, I do kind of base it on power out of the box, upgradability, as well as what are the stable cards that you can find in it. But before we get into all of that, I do want to mention that this channel and myself, we now have an affiliate link with TCG Player. So if you already use TCG Player to buy your singles for honestly any game, not just One Piece, but Digimon, Flesh and Blood, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're already buying singles through TCG Player and want another way to help support this channel, feel free to use my link down below in the description. While it's not a discount code, it does allow me to get a percentage of whatever you purchase through that link on TCG Player. And if you do use the link, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate your support of the channel. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into the starter deck breakdown. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is why should you play the Black Navy starter deck? Well, one, if you really like removal, this is the deck for you. And you'll notice that this is actually the first set of cards, first starter deck for this color. So this is a new color, black, and with it comes this identity of cost reduction and then using events and effects to KO based on cost. And finally, the other reason why you should play this deck is if you've really wanted a new stage card that isn't the Thousand Sunny or Onigashima. That's right, stages are back. And honestly, it's a pretty good one. So what exactly does black do in general, as well as this deck? So like I said before, the primary ability that it's kind of bringing to the table is cost reduction. Now that isn't to say that this is cost reduction for you to play cards cheaply out of your hand, but rather this is targeting the cost of your opponent's cards that are currently on the board. And so it's very similar to how red targets power for a lot of its removal effects. In black, there's very strong single target removal, and it's now targeting the cost area of the card. And for this particular starter deck, it's aiming at things that are cost 0, which, as you might know, there's not a whole lot of cost 0 character cards out there, so you'll need some of that reduction in order to eliminate some of your opponent's threats. But this is really good at removing like some of the small blockers that can be pesky for that late game interaction. And a really big pro for this particular starter deck is that it actually comes with 40 counters, including some of the event counters. Now that we talked about strengths, what are some of the weaknesses? I'd say for this one, hand resources. So a lot of these removal effects also require you to trash a card from your hand, and if you keep going just wild with those effects, you're not going to have much of a hand at the end of your turn, and so you could be kind of in a hole when it comes to counters, right? Those 40 counters I talked about are no good if they're in your trash. And then the other big weakness here is honestly a lack of blockers. So lots of good counter defense, but not a whole lot of blockers. So now that we've gone over the pros and cons, let's go ahead and check out the Dawn curve for this. Alright, and here we are. Let's check out some stats. So for the starter deck, out of the box, we have 14 1 costs, 14 2 costs, 10 3 costs, 4 4 costs, and then 8 5 cost cards. And that's between, characters, stages, and event cards. And then to kind of re-emphasize the number I threw out earlier, we do have 40 counters in here, which is pretty nice. So of all these cards, which ones are the most important? Let's talk about a couple key cards. And the first one I want to talk about is the leader card, Sakazuki, aka Akainu. But essentially, your leader Sakazuki is essentially a removal event card on legs. So Sakazuki's ability is activate main once per turn, tap 3 in your cost area, and then you can trash a card from your hand to KO up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 0. So it really is like a 3 cost event, which, it isn't bad, but definitely not, I would say, the most efficient way to use an ability like this. I'll talk about it later, but there's actually some cards that come out in this set that do this a little bit better. So like I said before, there aren't a whole lot of characters that cost 0. So how do we get them there? With our cost reducers, with cards such as Tashigi. I'd say Tashigi is classified as a key card, not only because of her effect, but also she is our 2k counter here. But the ability is pretty good. Activate main, you can rest this character, and then for this turn, -2 the cost for up to one of your opponent's characters. So say your opponent has a 2-cost blocker, you can go ahead, play Tashigi, rest her so you can give that blocker -2, and then go ahead and tap 3 more Dawn in order to KO that blocker with Sakazuki's ability. Another key card I want to highlight here is Marineford, and this is your new stage card for the Navy decks. And this one's good because it is another cost reducer, but in this current meta of OP02 is untouchable, right? It's not able to be destroyed. OP03 kind of changes that a little bit, but Marineford right now, pretty good. So that is consistent cost reduction. And for those of you who don't know, 1 cost to play Marineford stage, on play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn, and then activate main, rest the stage. If your leader has the Navy type, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 to their cost during this turn. So on the turn it's played, you can -2 something, and then consistently afterwards, -1 things. Last one I want to bring up is Impact Wave, which is going to be your primary event counter. So this is 2 costs to play, counter, give up to one of your leaders or characters +4k during this battle, then KO up to one of your opponent's characters, active characters, with a cost of 3 or less. Also has a cool trigger ability where you get to KO up to one of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters, regardless of whether they're rested or active. And finally, here's a deck list for the starter deck coming out of the box, and this is just a single one, so you can see kind of where you might want to get 2 copies of if you want to get full playsets. But it comes with 1 leader Sakazuki, 2 Kobe, 4 Suru, 4 Django, 4 Helmeppo, 4 full body, 4 Tashigi, 2 Hinas, 4 T-Bones, 4 Momonga, 4 Sengoku, 2 Garp, 2 Smoker, 2 Great Eruption, 4 Whiteout, 2 Impact Wave, and then 2 Marineford. And if you want to see those cards a little bit more closely, I do have a link to OnePieceCardGame.dev where I have the base starter deck. Check out the link down below in the description. Alright, so that is all the information on the Black Navy starter deck. Now let's talk about my thoughts on it. So, first of all, power out of the box, I'm going to be honest, it's a 1 out of 5. So the cost reduction and the single target removal is very good. However, there's honestly not enough of it out of the box. The fact that most cards kind of require you to reduce your opponent's characters to 0 is limiting. And if you don't know, there's actually more Black Navy support in OP02. That's the primary set that's coming in. And there's a lot of cards there that, you know, KO things that are 3 costs or 4 costs. Sure, they might cost a little bit more to play, but honestly, that's so much better and that provides so much more flexibility than trying to bring your opponent's characters to 0. Because, I mean, I haven't really done the math on it, but I think out of the box, there's not really a way for you to, you know, reduce something huge, like, say a Mihawk, or even like a 10-cost Kaido, right? And that's very limiting. Maybe it doesn't matter so much in like a starter deck versus starter deck matchup, but if you try and bring this outside of that into the OP02 meta, it becomes very tough. Also, the top end honestly is not as powerful, so even if you can stall to the late game, what are you really gaining, right? You're going to smack someone with Smoker and Garp. Like, that's a 7k and a 6k respectively. And sure, if your opponent has a 0-cost, Smoker does get that double attack. But also, if they have a blocker, you know, or if they just set up a wall, Smoker's not as good. So that's why I say out of the box, as is, 1 out of 5. But what about upgradability, right? And I think that's honestly where this shines a little bit, because OP02 is the Navy booster set, right? It's really where we're going to get our support. And honestly, most of the cards are replaced. So I went ahead and made a sort of custom Sakazuki deck list based on OP02 cards. And this deck really leans on having kind of the full armada of the Navy's, what are they, generals? They're generals, right? Can't remember the lore. But Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Borsalino, right? Because yeah, those are very powerful characters that either reduce costs on your opponent's characters greatly, or can kind of target higher costed characters to remove them, such as the character Sakazuki. And you'll notice we did load this thing up with more blockers and as many 2K counters as we could. Just because essentially we're trying to stall in order to, see our Sakazukis or our secret rare Kuzans. However, why am I only giving this thing a 3 out of 5 in terms of upgradability? Honestly, it's because of the leader. Among the 3 black leaders that we get with this and OP02, I would say the Sakazuki is probably the weakest. I mean, even take a look at the dual color leader Z. He does something very similar where he can KO something with cost 4. So it targets 4 cost characters, and it has Dawn -4. It does it with Dawn -4, right? So you can still use that Dawn and then use the ability to KO your opponent's characters. So the fact that it doesn't require you to go to 0 on your opponent's characters, as well as that sort of additional Dawn manipulation, I think makes Z a stronger leader than Sakazuki. And then I think Smoker is probably the best or the better of the 2 monocolor black leaders. Alright, so pretty low to middling scores on the first 2 categories, but what about staple cards? What cards in this deck are going to make it into either meta decks or have some flex considerations? And my ranking on that is, it's about a 3 out of 5. So about 4 out of the 16 cards coming from here are heavily used in meta Navy decks. So Suru, mostly because she's a blocker. Tashigi, 2K counter, good effect. Impact Wave, your best event counter. And then Marineford, just because it's a stage that provides that little bit of cost reduction, could have probably gone into flex consideration category, because it's kind of debatable whether you need it, but I do think it's a good card. And especially in OP02 when it can't be targeted and removed, pretty solid. And then of the remaining cards, 4 of them have flex consideration. I do put the Kobe in here, even though I think it gets outclassed by OP01 Kobe. Sengoku, also very solid effect on it. Smoker, just for that added aggro, that double attack, if you're able to hit. And then Great Eruption does what the color wants to do and also allows you to draw a card. So my overall ranking for this is, it is a 7 out of 15. Honestly, probably one of the weaker starter decks that at least I've kind of reviewed like this. So ultimately, what do I think? Is the black starter deck worth a pickup? Yeah, I think it's worth a pickup if you can get it for MSRP and you want to play black. But a bulk of the meta cards that will be coming for black decks is going to come from the actual set. So could be worthwhile to save that money for the actual OP02 release, especially if you can't find the starter deck for MSRP. Or find it easily, because to date everything's just been bought out. Not bought out, but like it flies off shelf pretty quick. And yeah, Sengoku arguably isn't worth building around unless it's to learn the Navy cards as well as the mechanics, but I do think that the set provides better leaders for that. Now, with all of that said, you can only get Impact Wave, Tashigi, and Marineford in this deck, and who knows kind of like what the prices for the singles will be. But hopefully the supply is good on the starter decks, and honestly hopefully those cards will be a little bit cheaper than maybe we've seen some from other starter decks. And ultimately, if you do want to like wait on buying the whole entire deck and actually just buy those singles that you need, TCG Player, pretty good spot. If you want to purchase through there, please use the link down below, use the affiliate link, and that helps to support this channel just a little bit more. But anyway, that is my thoughts on the Black Navy starter deck. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. Do you agree, disagree? Are you excited to pick this up? Let me know. And actual question for y'all. Of the 3 black leaders, Smoker, Sengoku, and Z, who do you think is the strongest? Curious to hear your thoughts. And if you want to hear my thoughts on more One Piece TCG, check out this video over here. It's a pretty good one. I think that'll do it for me though. So thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. And captains, remember, build what you like, play what you love, and I'll catch you in the next video.